Hey everyone, VortexTCG here, and today I've got the final round of locals with my opponent playing cross, and I'm playing cross, so a cross mirror match, but we're playing different builds here. I'm playing more of the OTK build, and my opponent here is going to be playing more of a standard build. I guess, I think he said to me this is like a superior mode kind of rush deck. But anyways, if you're looking forward to this video, please do like and subscribe. I should have a deck profile for this relatively soon. Anyways, I play the X7 here because I'm going to be giving a lot of memory anyways. I play the Xros, then swing with the Sparrow, and then swing with the Shoutmon itself. So applying some pressure into security while also having two bodies out is pretty nice, to say the least. And I'm also getting some draws with the Pikmons. But I think at this point, I'm lacking quite a bit, if I'm being honest. So I play another X3 here. I add the Shoutmon and the Taiki just because I know the Taiki is something that I desperately need for later on in this game, and the Shoutmon also just allows me to get rush when I need it. So he plays a Taiki here, himself going into Derulo. Taps the Trio Tamer, going into, I believe, an X3 here, doing some more searching, and there's the X7 superior modes. I haven't read this card yet, so I had to quickly check it real quick, but I'm just making sure about these cards, because I think there was like a bit of a weird one where he was asking, like, can I use this for superior mode, because I think on the card it says, like, in name it can be like Shoutmon for like used for like Digicross or something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. So the X3 dies due to the X5 in security, so he saves 2 and trashes the Derulo here. And then he plays another Taiki, so he's thinning his deck by a lot here. So it's not looking good for me in the slightest, I think. So here I draw, I hatch, and I could delete the Shoutmon X3, but I think I just need to apply more pressure, especially as my opponent is going to be potentially doing a lot on the following turn. So I swing, it doesn't die, I swing, it does die, but it doesn't have material save underneath it, which is very unfortunate, is what it is. And now we're at this really awkward point where I think it's just a bit of a stalemate. Like, we kind of, well, I don't think I can play like more cards here, because if I try to, I don't think the result is going to be very good. So, because he could go into the X7 maybe, and I don't want it to be deleted. So, I'm only at 1 memory, so I just play the Taiki. I just hope that it doesn't have any of the answers. So, I add the Taiki to hand and play underneath to play the Derulo. He gains a memory and draws a card from the Trio Tamer. He goes into a Sparrowmon in Raising. Uses the Trio Tamer to Digicross from underneath a Tamer, going into a big stack for the X7 for a reduced cost. Deletes the X3. I get to save the Derulo, but it's not really the problematic thing here. He swings, it does 2 checks, hit another Taiki, but he only needs essentially 1 more to deal the final blow, and he does have 2 memories, so he could potentially do it. But he just goes into a Xros for the Ballista, and then decides to not gain the memory here, so he passes me on to 1. And at this point, I'm just trying to think if there is a potential way that I could win from this point. But I don't think there is really much that I can do. So he blocks. I have to do that to draw an additional card here, and hopefully, because now I've got one of the blockers out of the equation, hopefully I can find some other avenues essentially. But I think here I have some of the tools that I need, like the Mervamon, but I don't think it matters that much, unfortunately. So as you can see, I'm just fanning out my cards a lot because I'm just trying to see if there is a way that I could potentially do it a lot more better. So I think here I just get called over real quick. But essentially I just go into the Mervamon here because I kind of just have to provide like 2 blockers essentially, because maybe he just doesn't have the answer. But I mean, we kind of know that he has the answer. So I played both of the X4s because it just says level 4s. So, yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, when you play 2 X3s like this for free, it feels pretty good, I can't lie. But everything has blocker, so he just needs to have essentially one more body, which I'm sure he'll be able to do quite easily. So he swings, I have to block this one. Swings, I have to block this. Swing, I have to block. And then it's pretty much just if he has the X3 or X4 or X5. But he goes into the Shoutmon here. And then goes into the gains 2 memory, goes into the King version, and then swings for game here. And so we get into game 2, and I get to start off here. I go into the Sparrowmon and play a Taiki, which allows... I'm just showing off my hand here because I'm like, oh, what do I want to pick out here? But I'll put the Derulo underneath and then add the other to the hand. He'll hatch, go into a Starmons here from the pick mods, and then play the Trio Tamer, giving me 1 memory. I swing at security, draw a card. It dies to the superior mode. So I put the Sparrowmon underneath the Taiki. And at this point, I mean, I haven't really got much else to do, so I play the Akari to play out the Derulo and then use the Akari to draw an additional card because, again, if I can just get these early draws going off here, it's pretty effective in my opinion. So he swings into security, hits a Blinding Ray here, and it's very unfortunate because you kind of want the Starmons to die at this point because you don't really want to give like a body out. But I don't think it's all that bad, quite frankly, because if you have another body out, it kind of just helps a little bit because you can apply more pressure and your opponent has to deal with it a little bit more. He goes into the X3 and adds 2 cards from there. I go into the Sparrowmon in raising. I swing at security. It dies to the Omni Shout. And I think here I'm just going to end up doing a very similar play to what I did last time, which is go into the Akari to play out the Derulo, to then draw 2 and then delete the Starmons, which I think is a pretty effective play at this point because just getting a draw 2 and then deleting a guy, I'd say it's pretty worth in my opinion. He swings into security, hits a Zenjiro. I'm just thinking if I want to play anything. I do not have anything, but he gets the second security check into a Shoutmon, something I'm desperately needing I think at this point, so he's ahead on the security, which is very unfortunate for me, but he puts the Z-Grey underneath and then adds, I believe, the Shoutmon to his hand. And at this point, we're kind of I wouldn't say a stalemate, but we're at this point where we can apply quite a bit of pressure, both of us, and we can win on the following turn, essentially. So we've got to hedge our bets essentially. So he goes into the Trio Tamer using the Sparrow, Star, Z-Grey, DX, and into the X7. I'm just checking about the DX because I don't think it might. I don't know if it completely worked, but he deletes the Derulo to stop the aggression, and this one has blocker, so it's a bit worrying. I promote the Sparrowmon here. Has blocker and has also got reboots, so it's a bit worrying. So I swing a security, see if he'll block, but he decides to not do that, allowing it through. I then play a Shoutmon here, allow me to look at the top 3. Allows me to add a Tamer and a Xros Digimon, so I'll add that. So I'll gain a memory and draw 2 cards from playing the Shoutmon, which is very effective at this point in the game for sure. So I've got quite a lot of memory to play with here, which is very, very useful for me at this point because, I mean, let's face it, I mean, kind of need as many tools as I can get. But the thing is, he's got a really big board in the X7 and the X3, so if he could potentially swing for a game on the following turn. So I think here I'm just messing up a little bit. Getting a bit confused with the effects. I'm trying to order it the way it says on the card, but something that I don't really think about that much. But I go into the X4 here, draw 2 cards, And so at this point, I don't really mind if this dies because it can save 3 sources, I believe, and it only has 3 sources on it. So I swing, I believe that's security, and draw an additional card. He decides to block, which is perfectly fine. I'm just thinking about what cards I would want to save in this situation. So I go into the Derulo and the Starmons. Then I still got to worry about this whole board because, let's face it, it's very worrying at this point. Especially when he's at 0 memory, because if I play anything that I hard play something, it'll go to like 3 or 2, which is something I desperately do not want in this game situation. So at this point, I just got to play defensively. So I end up going into the X5 using the Shoutmon, the Star and Sparrow here, just to give him 4, because that's pretty much all I can do, and I need the blocker out. And if he has the card, he has it essentially. So he swings into security here, hits a Derulo. Now he's just considering his line of action, so he swings with the X3. I'm thinking if I want to block, I decide not to and go into the Sun security, and it's a Sunrise Buster, which is very helpful in this situation, obviously. Very grateful at this point. So I play a Taiki here, and then I get to delete something. I believe I get to delete something at 12k. So I'm just considering what I want to delete. So I delete the Sparrowmon here because if he gets the additional swing, it might be really bad for me. So I end up adding the Ballistamon underneath the Taiki and adding 1 to hand. He then hard plays a Shoutmon here. And then I believe to end the turn, I'm just looking at the effects here. You can see my ugly mug there. Hello. Doing a lot of leaning, it seems. So I think he's thinking about going to the superior mode here for a lot of Digimon, which I can't say I'm surprised. I think here we're just asking about a certain effect, and I think my opponent is quickly Googling it. So I think I was saying to them at this point, it's like you need to essentially do it for very cheap. So he uses the source here and goes into the X4, and here I think we had a bit of confusion here, because I think what he wanted to do is that could you use the sources that you use from when you use the source from on top, can they also be used from underneath bottom? I think the ruling is that you can't, but we didn't really know at the time, so I think we just let it be, which is obviously wrong. I think this is incorrect. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below. But I think I was saying at this point, like, you can't use it at this point, but I think just due to uncertainty, we were just like, yeah, I think so, maybe. I don't know. So he trashes the sources and puts this underneath the card. I honestly don't know what the superior mode does, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I swing with the Sparrowmon here. It obviously blocks. It's very confusing. I don't know what was going on. I think here I'm just yeah, I'm going into the X5 here that I have. I'm trying to rush this a little bit because at this time my opponent had to leave, so I'm just trying to make sure that we get like a decent game. Here I'm like, you can see that I'm getting confused like so badly. I'm rushing so much, but essentially the Taiki isn't supposed to be suspended here, so I'm supposed to go into the X3 using the sources here, swing for game. This ending was a little bit confusing just due to the fact that my opponent had to go pretty quickly, but essentially Taiki was supposed to be unsuspended, so I used it to go for game. Ended up being a draw, but we decided that I'd get the win as he had to leave very quickly, so I win game 2.